When we said we wanted to meet inspirational runners with amazing stories, well, we truly have one.
Fintan O'Malley recently lost his baby daughter who had been born prematurely after fighting for 33 days.
He wanted to make a difference, so on the 27th of September 2024, Fintan is running from the Memorial Garden near where Millie was looked after, running 330 kilometres to make some money for the neonatal unit where doctors and nurses fought to keep her alive.
There's also some incredible positive news at the end of Fintan's story, but we do need to give a disclaimer and a warning for those of you that might be affected by similar issues that we are going to be talking about miscarriage, premature birth, and also child loss. So please do bear that in mind. This is The Running Channel Meets.
Fintan, it's amazing to have you here. After so much trauma for you and your family, how on earth do you go about this quest to raise money for people who find themselves in a similar situation?
It's driven by love for a little girl, to create a legacy for her, because she's not here to do a legacy for herself. So we want to, as a thank you to the nurses, the doctors, the consultants at Bolton NICU who looked after us and give us 33 precious days with our baby girl. We want to try and make a difference in that hospital, and we want to try and help other families who are going through such a traumatic time to be a bit more comfortable in that situation, because it is one of the hardest thing you're ever going to do as a parent, and anyone who has kids will know watching your child just being sick is hard, but watching your child lying in a bed and never being able to get out of that bed is harrowing, and it's out of your control. But we have to find some good out of this, and I have to be able to try and turn trauma into something better, which is what we're trying to do by creating Millie's legacy.
At what point after Millie died, after such a short period of time, do you begin to think, actually, I want to make a legacy out of this, and I've seen what's gone on in that hospital, I've been on that ICU unit for 33 days, and I want to get better kit, I want to get better support, and I want to make a difference? Like, at what point after Millie passed away did you start thinking about that?
Within 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. I walked out in the hospital because we had a private room to ourselves that we were allowed to hold her as she took her last breaths. And I walked out and I said to give a hug to every one of that nurse that was on that ward that night. And I said, I will be back and I'm going to do something and we're going to make a difference in here.
And what did they say?
He just gave me a hug and we just cried. It's just like, I have to find something good in it. I have to. Our life cannot be for nothing. 33 days being here cannot be for nothing. It has to mean something. It does mean something to us, but it has to mean something greater.
And then those 33 days, you've described in such incredible detail about what a fighter she was, about what an incredible character she was, and also how much she taught you as a person as well.
Yeah, she changed me. She softened my heart, and she just, when you lose a child, it just opens your perspective on life. It just thinks like you don't have problems. You think you have problems, but it's your perspective of it. And it just broadens your horizons. And to see someone so small, she was 486 grams. She literally fitted into my hand. She was that small. To see someone fight every single day for every breath, for every heartbeat, the infections, like we were told 5 times that she would not make it through the day. And somehow she still made it through the next day and the next day and the next day until finally her heart gave up. And that for us is like, it can't be for nothing.
There's a moment, isn't there, when you say, I want Millie to see outside. I want her to feel what it's like to be outside. And you take her outside of the ICU unit with the permission of the doctors into this special area in the grounds of the hospital. But that area now has some significance, doesn't it? With what, you're here to tell Andy and me today about what you're doing in a couple of weeks' time.
Massive. We were quite lucky that they said to us, we knew she was going, her heart rate was dropping and it was just getting slower and slower and it wasn't recovering. And the nurses said to us, is there anything you'd like to do? Anything you want us to do? And I was like, I want to take her outside. I can't have her just seeing the four walls of the hospital. They were like, it's not been done before, so we don't know if we can do it. But it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. There was nobody about. So we went outside the unit. We crossed the hallway. There's a little memorial garden. And I held it. And that was the first proper time I got to hug her in 33 days because she was so ill. And we looked up to the sky with the help of the nurses who were keeping her breathing. And we had like 10 minutes in that garden. And we just told her that her grandparents were waiting for her. Some of our friends were waiting for her. And then that now becomes the focal point and the start point and the end point of the 330k challenge. Because that's where the race begins and that's where the race ends.
Yeah, I think we should sort of give the context as to how we heard your story as well. So you're a coach and you're clearly, you love running. Obviously we talk about running a lot, and then the challenge that you're going to take on is running focused. But someone that you coach got in touch with us to tell us your story. And we'd asked people to send them in. And I don't think we ever thought we'd get something where, you know, Rick and I both sat here also on the verge of tears as well. Obviously it's like impossible to understand exactly what you've been through, but we can empathize as parents as well. So I guess it's thanks to Chloe for getting in touch and for telling us your story. But now I guess tell us how you're going to go about that 330k. Exactly what that'll mean. I mean, I'm sure you're not low on motivation. Sometimes I struggle for motivation.
No.
And I think that's something I'm taking away from this, is that it does put everything into perspective, right? Like now, sometimes when it's raining, I don't want to go out for a run today. I can't imagine, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the weather and the motivation, like how are you finding that training for taking on a pretty epic challenge?
And being a PT anyway, I mean, you are motivated anyway.
I'm motivated, but this is different. It's a different energy. It's like, I'm just like, people think, oh, you're a PT, it's okay. And it's like, we're just human beings. We have feelings, we have good days, we have bad days. But it's, for me, it's like, it's a different energy. It's from in here, it's from up there. And there are days when I don't want to go out and run, and there are days when I'm tired. Yeah. But then I go, Millie struggled every single day she was alive. I can struggle for an hour or a couple of hours a day or longer.
Well, I mean, it's a bit more than that.
Well, but I mean, from a training perspective, yes, that's going to take me 4 or 5 days. Yeah. Potentially.
I say, is that all? Like 4 or 5 days with 330k is no mean feat. What's your kind of running experience and like how difficult is this for you?
When I was younger, I used to do cross country and track when I was younger, when I was like 14, 15, 16. I came to England, that was back in Ireland. Then I moved to England when I was like 16. Then obviously fell out of running and things like that. So then I got back into it when 2019, when I was probably 39. Got back into running, but I hate road running. Hate it. Sorry guys, really? But I do. I don't mind training up. So trail running. So then I signed up for the half marathon de Sable as my first race.
Wow.
But
just
then
go straight in with that.
Straight in. Then I decided I needed a couple of other runs and experiencing running rather than just going straight into that. So I've done my first year, I think 2019, I did the 55k Lakeland Trail, which was my very, very first ultramarathon. And then from there I went to a 50 miler, there to the half marathon de Sable. And then obviously COVID hit. So the only thing I was able to do in COVID was that we did 100k in our local woods, 10 loops for charity. So we did a 100k race in lockdown. And then 2021, would it be 2021, did my first 100 miler. Across the Beck and Beacons. And then that's kind of been my experience. And I tore my meniscus, both knees. So I've been out for a year. And I've literally had my operation in October.
Meniscus, that's nothing.
In case you're not aware, you know, Rick likes to bang on about his own knee surgery.
Try high tibial osteotomy, Fintan, you know.
Who?
Exactly. Well, so during that period of the running that you were describing up until the surgeries and so on, and I think something that makes the story that's to date even more poignant is that your motivations must have been very different from running back then, but you're also conceiving Millie in the first place wasn't straightforward, right?
No. It was that was like a 7-year journey. So obviously we tried to go the natural routes as we all do, and then we were told we'd have to go down the IVF route because we both had issues, and then we tried IVF. We had a couple of tries, nothing happened. Then we got pregnant. Then we had a couple of miscarriages. Then we had Millie.
Yeah.
And then our very last embryo was our beautiful little Willow that arrived in December, just gone.
Congratulations.
So it's been a full circle of kind of joy, grief, trauma, and back to joy again. So it's kind of like the full circle.
I just listening to you and sort of mesmerised by how tough it's been. But then there's this joyful ending is not the right word, but
Yeah.
like, you know.
But she brings joy to our life.
Yeah, exactly. And so will she be... Will Willow be popping up en route during the 30?
Well, Willow starts training next week because she's 6 months old, so she's allowed in the running buggy next week.
Oh, wow.
So she starts training next week.
That's a big moment.
Yeah.
You've talked a bit about how you think men have difficulty discussing loss and pain, especially when it comes to losing a child, but you know, in other circumstances around health as well. What is it you're hoping that, you know, other families might take from hearing your story?
I mean, Becky and I are really lucky that we've come out of this together. Because if you look at the statistics, they're quite sad that a lot of couples don't come out together. And I think a lot of that is the couples struggle separately.
The strain of it.
But they struggle separately and they don't speak. And us as blokes have this thing where like, you need to be macho and I can't talk about my feelings. Yeah. That's rubbish, in my opinion. For me, it takes greater courage to open up, speak about things, because if you keep all that inside, you're only getting down a darker hole. And it becomes harder and harder to come out of. I've been very vocal about my feelings.
Were you straight away vocal about it?
Yeah.
Did you feel straight away you wanted to talk about it?
I had to.
Yeah.
Was that to your wife or was that to someone
everybody
else? Anyone that would
Instagram, anybody that wanted to listen to Millie's story.
Yeah.
I wanted Millie to... Millie was alive.
Was that motivated by...
Yeah, Millie was alive.
You know what?
Millie was here.
Yeah. I've got to say, Fintan, the first time I spoke to you, I was in this busy kind of train concourse. I think I was in Birmingham. And me and you we were on a sketchy line and it was cutting in and out. And it was the first time that, you know, I approached you and said, you know, we'd love to have you on TRC Meets. And I was just wasn't expecting how open and your clarity of thought about A, what you wanted to do in Millie's memory, and B, how open you were about the strain that, you know, it was put on you and your family over such a long time, and how you were just happy to share that story about and it took me a little bit by surprise the first time we spoke, but I just found it really quite heartwarming, difficult, but really heartwarming. And I think you should probably know how rare it is for someone to be so brave and open to speak like this.
I'm just trying to be me. That's just literally what I'm trying to be. So it's my way of coping. It's my way of dealing with things. But if we can help one family stay together, if we can help one family to try again for a child and they have it, like the chances, I don't want people to realise it's 1 in 4 trillion is your chance to be all of us here are miracles. 1 in 4 trillion.
You know the kit on the neonatal unit that you've raised money for so far, and you intend to raise a lot more money for. You know, you kind of talk about bedding, breast pumps for the unit, accommodation, furniture, things that support newborn babies who are born prematurely, who have to spend all this time on ICU units up and down the country. What is it that you want to raise when it comes to the unit you were on for so long that will help them specifically?
Well, it's more about, I think it's not exactly kit for the children. Yeah. It's because they are looked after. They are the number one priority. And the nurses, the doctors and the consultants, the love, care and attention that we got
was amazing.
Was out of this world. And that's another big driver for me, because that's a thank you to them. But it's to help, it's the situations around when you're in the unit. It's the comfort of being in the unit. We were allowed to stay on the hospital grounds. They have 3 rooms, but it's stressful when you've got people in and out walking things. We want to be able to change that and try and make it a better environment, if that makes sense, so that when you're going through that stress, you something less that you have to think about. The breast pump side of things, when we were there was 3, and you're like sharing through between all the mums. You're asking, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? When Willow was born, she had a week back in the same NICU unit, and it was just really nice to see. There was 12 other pumps there, and there was literally a pump for nearly every bed, and we were like, we were part of that.
Yeah. How hard was it though to be back
in the same place?
Oh, just so hard. When she was born, everything looked fine, and we had a cesarean, and then obviously she was brought to her mum, and then when she was brought to her mum,
Willow,
yeah, and then when I saw the anaesthetist tap the doctor on the shoulder and do this, and then I looked and I could see her lips were going blue, and then she was like struggling to breathe, and then it was like all stations again. You're like, not again. So me and Becky again were like separated because she had obviously just had a major surgery, and then it was just that repeat process. But they were unbelievable. One of the nurses had seen us before, but because I was in hospital clothing, she saw the baby and she said, "Hi, Dad." Hi. She went, "Oh, it's you." Fintan.
Really?
Yeah, she remembered us.
And this is what? This is 2 years on, 18 months on?
So just over a year, because just over a year when in December. And and then when one of the other nurses was like, "Oh, we'll put them in bay 1," and she was like, no, you won't, because
they remembered.
That was Millie's. Oh. And that for me is like, how do you
remember
they
that?
have so much stuff going on. I don't know how someone can pick that out and go, no, not put them in another one.
Yeah, but that's ended incredibly happily.
Yeah.
With the joy of Willow. But what's amazing to me, and what shone through from Chloe's original kind of contact was, she said we needed to talk to you because yes, all of this is harrowing and very difficult. And there's the side of it where you're now channeling that into something incredible. But also actually what she said was that you're this ray of positivity, even throughout the IVF and your own surgeries and then what ended up happening with Millie. You were just kind of bulldozing through life and being this kind of positive influence on the people that you work with as a coach.
Does Chloe work in PR? Because if she doesn't, she should.
No, she doesn't. I don't think she does.
We get her onto that. We need some.
Yeah, I think both of us we got her original email, and I think I read it first and then sort of said to Rick, "You need to read this," and then both of us had a little bit of a, well, we don't really know what to say now, and this is, please, can we talk to this person?
Yeah, exactly.
So then from a running perspective, you're deep into training, I guess.
Yes.
How are the knees?
Good. They still feel a bit sore every now and then, but it's just part and parcel of training. Just making sure, trying to get as much sleep as I can with the little one. So power naps are quite high on the priority. But no, it's good. It's hard because it's hard being away from Becca and it's hard being away from Willow because obviously she's a newborn and I want to be.
You want to be there.
I want to be there as much as I can.
Does being a personal trainer help though? Because you can do some of the strength work actually at work.
Yes, but then you're also on your feet all day. So you
don't get the relaxation time, the recovery time.
Like you guys.
I know a lot of. This doesn't matter what field this is in. I guess teachers, coaches, nutritionists, physios, whatever. Brilliant at giving advice. I wonder, do you? How diligent are you at doing your own S&C?
Yeah,
you're on it because plenty of people are like, you need to do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
It's far too important not to do it.
Yeah,
that's the simple thing. It's just like it's too important. It's far too important for me to get injured to not be able to complete it.
You're the first person who sat in that chair who's made any sense on S&C.
That's because Sarah usually sits there.
She's not a big fan of S&C.
But yeah, Rick and I are both in the same school of thought where I'm that little bit older and we're a pretty similar age, and yeah, just the frustration of missing runs or like feeling soreness and so on, it far outweighs the kind of inconvenience or I don't enjoy necessarily being in the gym, so I kind of have to do it. And then I have I'm motivated for my own reason, chasing times and new distances and so on, but nothing like the kind of the motivation that you clearly have. And the reason this story is amazing is that the reason that 840,000 people balloted for the London Marathon this year, and a whole bunch of those will end up raising huge amounts of money for charity and so on. And everyone has that thing that when it gets to 20 miles in a marathon, like, why am I doing this?
The external.
And then they're remembering, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you can flick a switch. And do you know what point you're going to have to flick that switch in the 330K?
Mine's on all the time.
It's on all the time.
It's on all the time. There's no flicking the switch because it's all the time. It's when I'm tired. It's doing a run late at night when I want to go to bed. It's getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get a run in so I can have a day with the girls when I come home. It's on all the time.
That's fascinating, isn't it? To have that, because I think it's one of the things we're proud about on the running channel. I guess we talk about how running's not always like fun and easy and beautiful like you might see on social media. Yeah. Quite often it's dark,
brutal,
wet, cold, feels rubbish,
lonely.
Lonely, and hard to just get out the door. So I think everyone needs to find their own reason for doing it.
Yeah, it's finding your why.
Yeah.
Does it help? Like, does it help your head? And did it help your head in the weeks and months afterwards running to kind of to clear your head and
100%.
give yourself some space?
Yeah. For me, getting out in the mountains, that's where I feel closest to her. That's where I talk to her. And that's where, when I write my posts, and I've written like 10 poems, which all to do with Millie, which I've never ever done before. Like, I left school when I was 16, so I was like, I wasn't like the brightest, but that just allows me to clear my head. It allows me just to switch off from all the noise, and it allows me just probably go a little bit deeper in my heart. And I just feel really close to her when I'm out. I talk to her all the time when I'm out running.
And is that cathartic experience, as much as it is it energizing for you now, and a positive one that helps pull you up?
Definitely, 100%. It's like on Sunday, for an example, Saturday I had a really bad run. The legs just felt tired, they just felt heavy, and I was just like, you just need to remember Millie. Millie struggled every day. Just get on with it. One step in front of the other, and you just keep going.
And
keep trucking on.
How far was that?
It was only 25k.
It's only 25.
Yeah,
That's
it was
25.
3 hours.
Well, when you go on
it was 3 hours. It was 3 hours.
I haven't run 25k since 2017.
Yeah, well, maybe we're going to change that.
Oh yeah,
Rick keeps setting me challenges, so we're going to have to set Rick
challenges. When you hear something as inspirational as what Fintan's doing, then it shouldn't be hard. Can I ask you kind of like a bit of a? I imagine it's probably a difficult question, but something you've had to deal with and face the challenge with. How do you speak to Willow about Millie?
Well, that's why I wanted to be part of this as well. That's why I wanted to be part of like the training runs. I wanted to be
even as a baby.
Even as a baby. Yeah. So she's part of it. We just tell her how brave her little sister was, and I show her little videos of her when she was in hospital.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the other day when I showed her a little video of her, there was one that was the only time that Millie opened her eyes in the 33 days that she was there, and she literally grabbed the phone and she just did like that to the phone, and I was like, she's never ever grabbed my phone before, but I was just showing her a little video of her. It just felt like she was giving her a hug. I know it's probably not, but that's just what it felt like. But that's how she'll be told, and like, you always have a bigger sister and she'll always be upstairs looking after you.
That's magical. And I'm thinking about when you said about going out for a run, and then actually that's your ability you're on your own, but you're kind of talking to Millie in that context. I actually think that your message about opening up for everyone who goes through trauma, but particularly men, that running with other people can actually be, in my experience, a really powerful way of doing that, because you and I are looking each other in the eye and we're talking about quite difficult topics, but that can be really difficult to do when you don't know how to open up. But if you know someone who's struggling or is dealing with something hard, then I would say give them a shout, go for a run. And the very fact that you're both focused on one foot in front of the other, you're not having time to look at each other, it makes it much less awkward to have, like, some of my closest running friends I've definitely had. I mean, I had stupid conversations as well, but I've definitely had the most meaningful conversations on runs, because you can sort of talk about it without it feeling quite so...
Yeah. You're more relaxed and you're switched off as well.
Well, that's because Andy's got the breath to be able to talk while he's running. I've got no chance. So I've never had any meaningful conversations on
you just listen to me.
Just listen to him and Sarah.
He's a very good listener on a run.
Yeah. Fintan, honestly, we wish you every luck and hope and good thoughts possible in the world. And if people want to know more about this journey, where do they look?
Instagram. We've got Millie's legacy page, or just on my own page, just Fintan O'Malley. It's where we just kind of tell our story as we go along. So that's best place probably to catch us on there.
Well,
make sure you send Fintan some love via social media. If you do want to send it our way as well to podcast@therunningchannel.com, then we'll make sure that gets passed on. Or if you want to get involved or help out in any way, then we can surely facilitate that.
Amazing to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for allowing us to share Millie's story. I appreciate it, because it's going to
very
be
special.
It's going to be emotional.
Yeah, we're rooting for you. We'll be following you and giving you our support from afar, I think, initially. So, yeah, wishing you all the luck in the world, and thank you so much for talking so candidly about something quite difficult, but something that ultimately has a happy ending with you and your family, and also now with this incredible legacy that you're going to leave behind in terms of taking on this amazing challenge.
Brilliant. Thank you.